I'm just in the midst of refining my niche statement. I'd love some feedback on it. Great. I don't want to monopolize the space, but I wonder if it could be a useful exploration as a case study. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Ariel said, my mission is to help 100 caregivers move from surviving to thriving this year in under 24 hours. Embodied insight on attachment, boundaries, and ADHD. I love that. That's great. Yeah, that's what I would call. So my colleague Amanda Jane has something she calls what does she call it? The 100 project. And I really recommend this. This is a great way to if you've got a niche you're leaning into, you feel pretty clear about, like, yeah, this is what I want to do. You could do 10, you could do 50, you could do 100, but say, okay, what she did, she wanted to work on niching. So she gave 100 free sessions, very limited in scope, in time, but 100 free sessions. Now you could charge for some of these too. It doesn't have to be free. There's different ways to do it. But so what I see as the niche is basically I see the niche as like burned out caregivers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when you say caregivers, what are the top three types of caregivers? Like, what do you mean by that?
It's kind of well, parents,
Okay.
people who spend more time paying attention to what other people need than what they need themselves.
Yeah. So parents is one version. What's another specific iteration of that?
Well, yeah, so that's another. So, like, it could be.
Yeah. So it's a sort of it's just helpful to have like a top three examples because the term caregiver might be interpreted different by different people, and it may
Yeah.
attract people who you don't that are not exactly who you wanted. Because there's teachers, there's
Yeah.
social workers, there's psychologists, there's therapists, there's coaches, there's healers, there's just community organizers, there's activists, and so it's helpful that people will use the term like I work with creatives and I have no idea what they mean.
Hmm.
Or worse, I have too many ideas for what they mean. And I might send them a client saying, "Oh, they work with creatives," and then they call me. It's like, "Why did you send me that person?" Well, you work with creatives, but that's not what I meant something else by that.
That's
Or
not.
people say I work with leaders, and I don't know what they mean by leaders. So just in general, for everyone, it's a helpful tip to if you have a term like that, that's a bit of an umbrella term. It's a bit broad. It can be helpful to give examples like I work with hippie entrepreneurs like life coaches, holistic practitioners, permaculture people, and I can give three. Yeah. So that when people hear it, they say, ah, I know more specifically who he works with.
Hmm. That's helpful.
Yeah. So, I mean, generally, I think that's very clear. Like a burned out caregivers, such as boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
then I know who it is. Yeah. And this is the most important thing in niching is that I should be able to read it and know it instantly if that's me or it's not me. Yeah, there should be no equivocation, no doubt in my mind. And ideally, I probably have other people come to like, oh, this would be perfect for this person. So the most important thing with niche is clarity, that I get it. Because if I look at it and it's like, is that me? I don't know. Is that me? Is that not me? If I'm confused, it's not helpful. The confused mind says no. The confused mind says no. If they don't get it, the default is I'm out, not tell me more. And so I would say the niche is the burned out caregivers, right? The island A's,
Would,
they're burned. Go ahead.
can I ask a question? Does people pleaser, is that a category of the type of person or not?
Yeah, and it's a bit nebulous to me. It's the same as like highly sensitive.
Uh huh.
At one level, clear, but if we look at okay, if we look at articulating who your ideal client is, there's 5 levels of it, and they're not all equal. So I'm gonna okay. We got a bullseye here, yeah?
Hmm.
So and they're worth points. So if you hit the outer ring, it's 1 point. Not very many points. And these are the qualities of the person. Yeah.
Which is
So, okay, cool. Yeah. So these are the qualities. Like they're punctual. They've got a good sense of humor. They're honest. They're kind. And things like people pleaser and highly sensitive can fit out here. It's a quality, but it's great. Okay, good for them. That's who they are. But only 1 point. Next ring in. It's 10 points. There's more. And these are the demographics. Now, demographics can actually be very significant in marketing, but demographics are things like, anything external that you could look at somebody and verify externally, your income, you know, you white, you person of color, you how tall are you? How much do you weigh? What are your habits? I mean, I can just look at those things and I can hire up detective and discover these things about you. That those are demographics, the external markers. The challenge with demographics, because some people say I work with men and women, and so then that's a very important thing. But the challenge is people don't tend to hang out just based on demographics. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But it's not like all the black people hang out at the same place. Yeah. Because there's a lot of diversity in that community. Yeah, are there certain neighborhoods? Are there certain things? But it's not always the best marker of where do people hang out. Do women all just hang out at the same place? There's some you haven't told us guys where you hang out. You got this same place you go, and so demographics are not always the basis for community. Sometimes yes, but it kind of, even when you look within that, it fractures immediately because more important than that, for 100 points, we've got the psychographics. And psychographics are the kind of inner things, the values, the scenes, the communities that you're a part of, what's really important to you. So you an anarchist? You a capitalist? You into Burning Man? Are you into holistic new age woo-woo stuff? Are you a science-based, evidence-based person? Yeah. Are you the kind of person that would notice, like I did, that it's 11:11 a.m.? Is that your psychographic? You're one of them people? See what I'm saying? These are inner things. I can't externally verify this, but there may be markers, there may be indications, but this is something that's important to you. And this is where communities form often around. Yeah, you get these communities of affinity where people join together because they see the world in a certain way, the way they vote, some of those things I mentioned. So it's really easy to find hubs based on psychographics. Ah, you're into this. I could find you in all these places. But then for 1,000 points, now this is more if we're talking about offers, a specific offer. For 1,000 points, we've got the musts. Because so, Ariel Paul, if imagine you're speaking in front of a stadium and it's full, 60,000 caregivers, and they all love you. Yeah. They're like, look at that curly red hair. Love this guy. I'm in. And they all want to work with you, but shit, you can't work with them all. You got to filter somehow. So, and you've got this offer that you're putting out, and they all want the offer. You thought you're like, shit, this would be great, but how do I decide? Well, the demographics might be some of it. Psychographics might be some of it. It's like, hey, if you believe this politically or this spiritually, it's actually we're not a fit. It's not going to work. Sometimes that can be a filter, but sometimes there are certain musts. Like you need to be available in the next week or the next month. You need to be able to spend this much time. You need to have these kinds of things in your life. Like I'm doing a kayaking trip. You need to have a kayak. There's certain musts. There's certain deal breakers. If you don't have these, it's over. Like you want to join my membership, you better have a business. It's like don't come trying to figure out your life purpose. We're not that kind of a thing. That's a must. You just have a business that you need to market. But then there's the bullseye. There's the center, which is 10,000 points. And this is what's the issue? And that's the island A and B. That's the center of it. So all of this, a very long-winded way of saying, when I hear things like highly sensitive, people pleasers, unless it's a problem for them, In which case, 10,000 points. Then it's just a quality and it's 1 point. See what I'm saying? Like listing it is like, okay, they're highly sensitive. Great, good for them. That's a situation. That's not a problem. Being highly sensitive is not a problem to solve. People pleasing, I don't know, it's great. Fantastic. Somebody who's finally going to take care of me. It's not a problem for me that you're a people pleaser. Wonderful. It's great for me, actually. Wow. God, I'm just getting everything I want. Perfect. But for that person, it may be a problem. Now, if that is connected with the burnout, okay. But then the question becomes this: are they aware, consciously aware, that their people pleasing is the problem? If so, it's a symptom and it's a bullseye. If not, it's just a quality they have, which maybe they're not even aware of that they're a people pleaser. If they're not aware of it, it's our point of view, it's our diagnosis about what's going on, but that's not their symptom. So you can see the difference between it's like a headline that says, "Are you a burned out caregiver?" such as da da da, and another headline saying, "Are you a people pleaser?" That first one is going to get a response. The second one, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It just depends how many people out there are really aware. Wow, I'm a people pleaser and it's costing me. That becomes the question. So if it could be like, I've got this offer and I want to work with 100 caregivers who are burned out, who are barely surviving, and they know that the thing that's got them burned out is they're stuck in people pleasing. See what I'm saying? Like, if you can add that as another filter, and that can be very helpful because it's like, yeah, that is part of my issue. I'm aware that that's at the heart of it.
Can I say the frame that I'm using is people who've been so busy looking after others they need help coming home to themselves.
Great. That's your diagnosis.
That's
Yeah.
that doesn't matter.
Well, it all depends. Are they aware of that or not? Like if you say that and everybody in the stadium or enough people in the stadium say, "God, that's true. That's me. I do need to come home to myself," then perfect. But if it's kind of like this is news to them, it's not that you can't say it and say it quickly, let's say in a presentation. It's just that that might not get them to come to the presentation.
Mm.
Maybe it will, because sometimes you can put it right in the headline and somebody reads it, and even in reading it, they say, "God, whoa, that's true." But these are the experiments. Is like, what level of awareness do they have? If I drop this, do they say, "God damn, instant Satori, instant, yes, that's the insight I needed." Like, for example, one of my clients, Suzanne Kohlberg, her headline was, "What if we're overweight because we overgive?" So that has both the point of view, the diagnosis, and the problem in it. You know, the situation, the problem, Island A, overweight, which for these people is a problem. The diagnosis, because we overgive. So she kind of just leads with both. Like, what if we have this problem because of this? So it's an interesting formulation that you can all play with. Like, what if we have this problem because of this? It can be an interesting headline, but again, you got to test it to see if people recognize themselves, if people hear it and say, yeah, or is it they say no? Because sometimes you can lead with that and they're like, go fuck yourself. That's not true. No, that's not, no, 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 no. That's not why I have the problem. I have the problem because this person's a son of a bitch. That's why I have the problem. But what if it's your childhood wounds? I told you to shut the fuck up. What if what if you're the problem as my therapist because you can't see what a terrible person this is? You see, like sometimes you bring the diagnosis and it's reaction. It's absolutely no. That is not the problem. And sometimes you name the diagnosis and people just, oh, fuck. Oh my God. Wow. Like I remember there's a book Neil Strauss wrote called The Truth. Now he wrote a book called The Game about the pickup, dating scene, kind of an expose of it. But he wrote a book called The Truth about his struggles with sex addiction. And in it, there's a scene where there's a therapist who he's describing his childhood dynamics, particularly with his mother, and this therapist who probably took a little too much pleasure in this. But she leaned forward and she's like, "You know what that's called?" And he said, "No." And he's just feeling sort of neutral about the whole thing. And she says, "Emotional incest." And he just bursts into tears. Just, you see what I'm saying? Like she
Yeah.
gives the diagnosis, and something about the diagnosis and the way it's worded is so true. It's unlocked something for him. So if that's the case, great. But and the way you can test this is you could like you're talking to a group and you say, I just want to run something by you. Raise your hand if this resonates with you. And you drop the bomb. And then you start to pay attention to your people and how do they respond. And if you get a lot of blank looks or a kind of like, oh, we're in this kind of a workshop, huh? Not interested. If that's what you're getting from a lot of people who are your people and you know they're a good fit, okay, maybe you got to ease that one in a bit more. Maybe that's not headline material. Maybe that's 30 minutes into the workshop material. But if you notice they all, oh, yes, relief of somebody finally telling the truth about this and naming it, then maybe it's a headline. And then that can be a very interesting, specific, you see what I'm saying? It can hone the niche because it's not just burned out caregivers, it's burned out caregivers who know they're burned out because of this problem. Yeah. Does that help at all? I don't know if that's useful.
Yeah, it is useful. Yeah. Yeah, it highlights the necessity of failing forwards.
Yeah. And I so recommend going back to the monologue versus dialogue, do a lot of research conversations. I mean, you can do it in workshops, but just talk to people, talk this stuff through. Most of us, we make the mistake of like, I got to figure out the niche up here entirely and then put it into the marketplace when it's better to have an idea, talk to a bunch of people. Does this land? Does this make sense? If you get some confirmation, keep going in little increments. Conversations to a free workshop in your living room or at a community center. You get hosted by somebody, you try something a little bit bigger and bigger to see what the response is. A practical example of this, Jay Abraham is one of the big names in the direct marketing world. He would say, if you're going to do an ad in a magazine, I mean, first of all, there's probably multiple magazines. So you got to figure out which one to put an ad in. So take out a very small ad and put it in all 5 magazines, right? And then you notice, wow, this magazine got a dramatically better response than the other 4. Okay, so then you try a slightly bigger ad in that same magazine. Or maybe you try 2 or 3 small ads in the same magazine, different ads. And you say, aha, okay, in this magazine, this ad did better. So then you do bigger, bigger, and eventually it's a full page thing. But you don't start with a full page ad in all 5 magazines. You want to save money. So little ads, test, get feedback, iterate, make it bigger and bigger and bigger.